Thank you. In this section of demo, we are going to learn how to get started with Redshift Serverless. Once we're done with creating Redshift Serverless endpoint, we are going to use Redshift Query Editor V2 to analyze the data on a Redshift Serverless. And at the end, we are going to learn few configuration options around the pricing and cost control. So let's get started. In order to create a Redshift cluster, you have to go to Redshift console and look for Redshift Serverless options. As this serverless option is in public preview, it's only available in few regions such as North Virginia, Ohio, and Oregon. In order for you to try out Redshift cluster, we provide $500 credit to your AWS account. You can get this credit once you're done with creating the database. And this credit can be applied against your charges for storage, compute, and snapshot. In order for you to avoid any unintended charges, do not forget to delete the database once you're done with playing around. At first, we set up the serverless endpoint. Let's review the configurations. Security is job zero at Amazon and all our services, and Redshift is no exception. You can validate the default setting has all the subnet which is against your virtual private cloud and its default security group. Data in Redshift is always encrypted and we use AWS own KMS key. In addition, you have option to customize all these settings. You can provide user credentials or admin credential of your choice by clicking on the customize admin user credentials. Also, you have an option to select the VPC. You have option to associate the VPC security group against your VPC and then select the subnet which is being again assigned against your VPC. You have also option to bring your own KMS key by clicking on the customize encryption key where you're able to have your own KMS key being selected to encrypt the data. Also, you're able to export the log such as a user log, connection log, and user activity log. To make your job easy, during the reinvent, we have announced a default IAM policy for Redshift called Amazon Redshift All Command Full Access. This policy has a permission to run a SQL command such as copy, unload, and even also able to run a query against your Redshift. This policy has also have an access to interact with other AWS services such as Amazon S3, CloudWatch, SageMaker, and AWS Grow. In order for you to create the role with this policy, you can go and select the manage IAM role and click on the create IAM role. And here it will tell you like, okay, whether you need to specify any specific bucket for it to access. You can specify any S3 bucket, or even you're able to create this IAM role with no S3 bucket. I will be creating with any S3 bucket here. Once done, let's quickly review all the settings. You must have wondered like how easy to work with or get started with Redshift Serverless in just few clicks. In order for me to have this IAM role being associated to my Redshift cluster, I will be selecting here and clicking on the Create Serverless endpoint. As it shows, it will take a few minutes to get it done, and you're able to measure the progress in this progress bar. We'll wait for it to get it done. Now the cluster is ready. We're going to use Redshift Query Editor V2 to query the data. Redshift Query Editor V2 is no cost to customer web-based query editor tool, which will be helpful for you to replace your existing SQL client, because when you're using the Redshift Query Editor V2, you have not to worry about configuring the network settings in order for you to connect to your Redshift cluster, how we usually do when we use any third-party SQL client. If you see here, it will be getting connected to my serverless without me being providing any server credentials. All right, so it makes your job easy to get started with your Redshift server. Redshift, in order for you to try out the Redshift SQL capabilities, Redshift provides this sample data set, and you're able to access this sample data set in this sample data dev schema. In order for you to create this data set, you can click on or just this folder icon, and it will be creating this sample data set for you. It is as easy to get started with the Redshift serverless. For quick test in this demo, I'm going to use this ticket data set. This way I don't have to load any new data set. So I have created this query and which I'm calling the sales per event. where I will be looking to see, okay, how much sales I have made per event while selling these tickets. If I run this query, I will get this result. This is awesome. However, if you're a visual user like me, you can use this really cool option in Query Editor V2, where you're able to um, build the chart out of it, right? You can able to select different chart options which being available. Let's go with the pie here, and the value will be your total price, and the label will be the event name. I can even call this chart, maybe I can say like sales by event. Uh, and able to save this as well. So other cool feature is like you're able to export this in PNG and JPG format. Other functionality being offered by Query Editor V2 is like you can use the visual way of loading the data from your S3, and also you're able to have an option to create database schema, table, and functions, right? So it will provide you template for you to create your SQL or Python-based functions, and also it will provide you create the schema. You can provide the schema internal and external. You're able to create those as well. All the query which you will be saving here get saved, right? Maybe I can call it demo. It gets saved here in this queries folder, and as I see here, right, it gets saved. This is notebook which is recently being announced, which is will very helpful if you are looking to use Redshift ML features, and you're able to see the chart recently I have saved here, right? So all the chart is being saved here. So this is all about Redshift Query Editor V2 and how you're able to use Redshift Query Editor V2 to explore the data in your Redshift serverless. Now let's move forward and see what all options are available in Redshifts configuration, right? So when you go on the dashboard, you're able to see the summary page, which will give you all okay, how much databases are there, what our recent query has been executed, what's the RPU usage is RPU stand for Redshift Processing Unit, and then if there's any data share if there's any data share available. The one very important configuration setting you want to keep in mind while working with the Redshift serverless is first of all, this endpoint is being configured on your account label, right? So having configured on account label, if you're looking to have a cost segregation between your team, between your project, or even between your business unit, you may want to create the serverless. You want to create the serverless cluster on different AWS account, right? Other is when you go and look here on the limits tab, it will be telling me like how much RPU is being assigned to my cluster, which tell me like, okay, if my cluster has to scale, how much RPU it can go at max. This setting is very important if you're looking to have a highly consistent performance against your Redshift cluster, especially if you have a long running or if you have a lot of concurrent user looking to use your Redshift cluster and you're looking to have a consistent performance, right? So we have decided to take this credit, so it's been created with this base CPU, like is being created with the 32. However, you can go and make these changes, and if you're creating without having this credit, it will be putting this 128. However, you have option to go till 512. So the pricing works is RPU in a Redshift serverless. We have a pricing for your compute as well as we have pricing for your storage. So compute pricing is 45 cent per RPU hour, and it's being billed per second. And for the storage, you will be paying the for the data storage cost and for the snapshot storage cost, how usually you pay for RA3. Other very important settings you should be keep in mind is how you able to do a cost control against your Redshift serverless that you can do using this manage usage limit. Why this is important? Because by setting this limit, you will be ensuring there is a predictable cost against your Redshift cluster. What if some users start running a long running query or run a bad query where they are doing the Cartesian product, which may, you know, cause a lot of RPUs to your Redshift cluster. So setting this limit will be helpful for you to avoid any unintended charges which you're looking to have against your Redshift cluster. So you can define like, okay, how much RPU I can use daily, weekly, or monthly. You can say like, okay, if I'm looking to have 100 RPU monthly, what will happen if I reach to this 100 RPU? You can have a two action. Either you can send an alert by using the SNS, or you have an option to turn off user not to run any query. So you're able to set this actions against your against this usage limit. So this is all about pricing and cost control. Let's quickly see around the resource monitoring what we have there. So in a resource monitoring, it will give you like, okay, RP use capacity, overall capacity used in your processing unit, like what capacity in your is being used by Redshift, right? Other is very important is compute usage. So if you see here, the compute usage is like compute per second, like how much compute power is being used per second. Also, here, if you see, one thing is like it's going up and down, right? So in a Redshift, when it identifies there is a query, or there is a copy command, it will automatically assign resources. However, when it finds there is no activity going on against your Redshift cluster, it will bring the resources down. Okay, so this is how, and it's happened very instantly. So you have not to worry about creating any uh, concurrency settings or anything as such. So it will be taken care by Redshift only. Other thing is here on this query and database monitoring, you're able to see like, okay, what all query ran against my database. Let me go with this last 30 minutes. And also you have an option to see like, okay, just give me top 100 queries by duration. So I will be getting all the queries by durations. This graph is really nice. I really liked it because if you have a long running query, you easily able to identify just by looking into this graph and see, okay, which query is taking long time. Here in this demo, I don't have any such long running queries, but in a production environment, or in when you're working, if you're looking to see, okay, which is long running query, just go here and able to see, okay, by this graph itself you're able to find. If you go here, it will be listing all those queries. So if you see here, all the copy command, which like took like 2 seconds to get it executed. If I click here, it will give me like, okay, what command I ran, and then if I go into the related matrix, it will tell me, okay, how much RP being used this by this command. So one other very important thing which I forgot to mention earlier is when you query your S3 using the Redshift serverless, your cost will be added as a part of RPU unit only. That is like 45 cents per RPU hour. So you have not to pay anything extra like what you usually pay when you're working with the provision Redshift cluster. If you have to access your Redshift cluster by using the Spectrum, you have to pay $5 per terabyte of data scan that to be compressed, right? But with the serverless, you have not to worry about paying that cost, as this cost been included into the Redshift serverless pricing itself. So with that, it's the end of my demo, and I will request you guys to try out this Redshift serverless and do provide your feedback, which help us to make this product better. Thank you very much.